Hey everyone, ready to dive into some Mexico travel planning today?
Always ready for that.
We're tackling a blog post all about lodging.
Ah, the classic Airbnb versus short-term rental debate.
Exactly. We're going to
Okay.
break it all down.
Yeah.
So you can pick the absolute best option for your trip.
Because let's be real, the perfect stay looks different for everyone.
100%.
Yeah.
So let's start with the move-in ready experience of Airbnbs.
Fully furnished, kitchens, stocked Wi-Fis, all set up, sometimes even those little extras like coffee and toiletries.
Yeah, no need to hunt down the essentials as soon as you land. Talk about convenient.
And don't forget about the Airbnb hosts. Many of them are local experts, just a message away if you need anything.
Like having a personal concierge.
Right, exactly. They can give you insider tips on the best restaurants, hidden gems, things you wouldn't find in any guidebook.
Okay, but can we talk about the aesthetics for a second?
Oh, yeah. Some of these Airbnbs are seriously stylish.
Instagram worthy for sure.
Yeah.
Think rooftop patios with stunning views, or those charming courtyards with lush greenery,
Now, on the flip side, you've got short-term rentals.
where things get a little more local.
Right. Absolutely. More about blending into the neighborhood, less of a hotel experience, and more about living like a local.
Okay, I'm intrigued. But what about the practical stuff? Is it more DIY?
Potentially, you might need to set up Wi-Fi yourself, stock up on supplies.
So maybe less hands-off than an Airbnb.
It depends. Some short-term rental owners are very attentive. It's crucial to communicate your needs up front and see what they offer.
Right. So it's all about knowing what you're getting into.
Exactly. And being clear about your priorities.
But isn't there a middle ground? What about Airbnbs that are in local neighborhoods?
You're thinking about those hidden gems tucked away from the tourist crowds, but still with all the Airbnb perks?
Exactly. So let's talk location.
Because location is key in Mexico. You've got everything from bustling beach towns to quiet colonial cities.
Yeah, each with its own vibe.
Think about it. Airbnbs tend to cluster around those tourist hotspots.
Makes sense. Easy access to the main attractions, restaurants, nightlife.
But those short-term rentals, they might be in quieter residential areas.
More off the beaten path, but maybe with more local charm.
Exactly. It all comes down to what you're looking for.
So are you picturing yourself right in the heart of the action?
Or do you want something a bit more tranquil,
Yeah.
a bit more authentic?
Okay. So we've got convenience versus authenticity.
Tourist hubs versus local neighborhoods.
But let's be practical here. Budget matters. And I know both Airbnbs and short-term rentals can have those hidden costs.
Oh yeah, those sneaky fees that can really add up.
So let's break it down. What should we watch out for?
Well, with Airbnbs, it's those service fees and cleaning fees.
Right, they can definitely add up.
And some hosts in Mexico have started adding extra charges for things like using the pool or having a late checkout.
I hate those surprises.
So read those listings carefully. Make sure you understand all the costs before you book.
Okay, good advice. So are short-term rentals the winner here?
Not necessarily. While the base rate might be lower, you might encounter separate utility costs.
Like electricity, water.
Exactly. And in some areas, internet too. Don't forget about deposits. Short-term rentals often require a security deposit.
Oh, right, to cover potential damages.
It's essential to clarify all costs up front, no matter which option you choose.
Transparency is key. No one wants their vacation budget ruined by unexpected fees.
Agreed. So we've covered convenience, authenticity, location, budget. What other factors should we consider?
We've touched on safety and communication.
Which are both super important, especially when traveling to a new country.
Right. So let's dive into those a bit deeper.
Because feeling safe and secure is essential for a truly enjoyable trip.
Okay, let's break it down. What are some safety considerations for both Airbnbs and short-term rentals in Mexico?
With Airbnbs, you have those safety checks and verified reviews.
Right, that system where you can see what past guests have said.
Exactly. It gives you a better sense of the host and the property.
That definitely adds a layer of reassurance.
Yeah.
So what about short-term rentals? Is it more of a Wild West situation?
Not necessarily. You often have direct communication with the property owner.
Okay, so you can build that rapport and ask them directly about safety concerns.
Precisely. And remember, many short-term rental owners in Mexico are locals themselves.
So they have that insider knowledge of the neighborhood.
Exactly. And hey, maybe brushing up on some basic Spanish wouldn't hurt.
Yeah, even a few phrases can go a long way.
It shows you're making an effort, and locals really appreciate that.
So turning that language barrier into a chance to connect.
Exactly. Now let's go back to that whole location thing. We were talking about tourist zones versus local neighborhoods.
Right, that classic travel dilemma.
Think about it. Those tourist areas are designed for, well, tourists.
Makes sense. Easy access to attractions. Restaurants geared towards international tastes.
Lots of nightlife options. It's all about convenience and hitting those must-sees.
So if you're all about maximizing your time and checking things off your bucket list, a tourist area could be a great fit.
Absolutely. But what if you're craving something a little more authentic?
That off-the-beaten-path experience.
Exactly. Then those local neighborhoods are calling.
Paint me a picture.
Picture this. You're strolling down cobblestone streets, discovering hidden cafes, maybe even chatting with locals at the neighborhood market.
Okay, I'm starting to feel it. Less touristy? More like I'm actually living there.
Precisely. It's about slowing down and soaking in the everyday rhythm of life in Mexico.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
But wouldn't I miss out on some of the iconic experiences if I stay away from the tourist zones?
Not at all. Mexico's magic is everywhere. Take San Miguel de Allende, for example.
It's a pretty popular destination.
Right, very popular. But venture a few blocks away from the main square and you'll find yourself in a world of local artisans, family-run restaurants, and a slower pace of life.
So it's not about avoiding tourist areas altogether.
Right, it's about being strategic with your location.
Finding that balance.
Exactly. Do you prioritize being steps away from the action? Or are you willing to hop on a local bus to reach those must-see sites?
Okay, so location is key. But let's not forget about the budget. We talked about hidden costs earlier.
Oh, yeah. Those sneaky fees can make a big difference.
So let's break it down even further. What are some specific things to watch out for?
With Airbnbs in Mexico, keep an eye out for resort fees or mandatory tip pools.
Those are often disguised as cleaning charges.
Right.
Exactly. Some hosts even add fees for using amenities like pools or gyms.
I hate those surprises.
So read those listings carefully. And don't be afraid to message the host and ask for clarification before you book.
Good advice. So what about short-term rentals? What should I be looking out for there?
One thing to watch out for in Mexico is separate utility costs.
Like electricity and water.
Exactly. While some rentals include those in the base price, others will bill you separately.
And those costs can add up quickly, especially with the heat.
Especially if you're running the AC constantly.
Right. I'd much rather spend those pesos on delicious food and experiences.
Absolutely. Another thing to be mindful of with short-term rentals is the security deposit.
To cover potential damages.
Exactly. In some areas of Mexico, especially popular tourist destinations, landlords might require a significant deposit up front. So it's all about being a savvy traveler, doing your research,
And asking the right questions.
to avoid any financial surprises.
Precisely. Being informed is your best defense against those unexpected costs. But enough about logistics.
Right. Let's get back to the fun stuff.
The experience itself, creating those unforgettable memories.
Because at the end of the day, that's what travel is all about.
Absolutely. So what kind of experience do you envision for your trip to Mexico? What are you most excited about?
Are you dreaming of sipping margaritas on a rooftop overlooking the Pacific? Or exploring ancient Mayan ruins? Maybe it's about connecting with local artisans and bringing home a unique piece of Mexican culture.
Mexico offers such a rich tapestry of experiences.
So many possibilities.
So the question becomes, what calls to you? What kind of story do you want to tell when you return from your trip?
That's a great way to think about it. It's not just about choosing a place to sleep.
It's about choosing an experience, an adventure, a story.
And that's where the choice between an Airbnb and a short-term rental can really make a difference.
If you're craving that deep dive into local life, that feeling of truly belonging in a neighborhood, then a short-term rental might be your perfect match.
Imagine waking up to the sounds of a local market, setting up shop just outside your window, or having a conversation with your neighbors about the best place to find fresh tortillas.
It's about those everyday moments that weave together the fabric of a truly immersive experience.
But what if I'm looking for a bit more structure and support, especially in a new country where I might not be familiar with the customs and language?
Then an Airbnb, especially one with a responsive and knowledgeable host, can provide that extra layer of comfort and guidance.
Like having a built-in friend who can answer your questions, offer recommendations, and even help you navigate those tricky language barriers.
Exactly. Like having a personal guide to unlock the best of Mexico. And let's not forget about the importance of feeling safe and secure.
Especially when traveling to a new place.
Absolutely. So let's shift gears and talk about some practical safety tips, regardless of whether you choose an Airbnb or a short-term rental.
Okay. Sounds good. What are some things we should keep in mind?
One of the most important things is to be aware of your surroundings. Just like in any city, it's wise to avoid walking alone at night in poorly lit areas and to be mindful of your belongings.
Right. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of a new place and let your guard down.
Exactly. And remember, Mexico is a vibrant country with a rich culture, but it's also important to be respectful of local customs and traditions.
Can you give some examples?
Well, in some areas, it's considered impolite to wear revealing clothing or to be overly loud and boisterous in public. A little bit of research on local etiquette can go a long way in avoiding unintentional misunderstandings.
Good point. It's all about being a respectful and responsible traveler.
Right. And one more thing to keep in mind is that Mexico has its own unique set of safety concerns, just like any other country.
Like what?
While certain areas might be prone to petty theft or scams targeting tourists, it's important to be aware of these potential risks and take precautions like keeping your valuables secure, avoiding flashing large amounts of cash, and being cautious about who you trust.
That's really helpful advice. It's always better to be safe than sorry.
Absolutely. And remember, your host or rental owner can be a valuable resource for information on local safety concerns. Don't hesitate to ask them for advice on the safest areas to visit, transportation options, or any other safety-related questions you might have.
So we've got location budget, the experience itself, and even touched on safety considerations. What else should we be thinking about as we weigh these options? I feel like we need to talk more about the language barrier, especially with short-term rentals.
Ah, yeah, when you're dealing directly with local owners.
Right. I know some basic Spanish, but I'm not exactly fluent. Any tips for navigating those communication hurdles?
Don't let it intimidate you. Many people in Mexico's tourism industry speak English,
Okay, that's good to know.
especially in those popular destinations. But it's always a good idea to learn a few basic phrases.
Like greetings, asking for directions.
Exactly. It shows respect and helps build rapport.
So even if I'm not fluent, making an effort is key.
Absolutely. And hey, there's always technology to help.
Like translation apps.
Exactly. Download one on your phone. Or even carry a small phrase book. It can be a lifesaver in a pinch.
Good point. Sometimes we forget about those simple tools.
And remember, communication goes beyond just words.
Oh, right. Body language,
Yeah.
gestures, a smile.
Exactly. All of that helps convey your message and build a connection.
So don't be afraid to use those nonverbal cues.
Exactly. And here's a pro tip. If you're struggling to communicate with a short-term rental owner, see if a friendly neighbor can help translate.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Mexicans are known for their hospitality. You might be surprised how willing people are to lend a hand.
Turning a language barrier into a chance to connect with the community.
I love that. Exactly. So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's go back to that big question. What kind of experience do you want to create for yourself in Mexico?
It's about aligning your lodging choice with your travel vision.
Are you picturing a luxurious Airbnb with a private pool overlooking the ocean? Or maybe a charming casita tucked away in a vibrant neighborhood?
What are your must-haves, your non-negotiables?
Think about the pace, the vibe, the level of immersion you're seeking.
And don't be afraid to get creative. Maybe you combine a few days in a centrally located Airbnb with a week in a more off-the-beaten-path short-term rental.
It's all about designing the perfect experience for you.
Mexico offers such a diverse range of experiences, from ancient ruins and bustling markets to pristine beaches and those charming colonial towns.
The possibilities are truly endless.
So, whether you're drawn to the convenience and support of an Airbnb or the immersive authenticity of a short-term rental, remember to embrace the journey
Savor every moment.
and create memories that will last a lifetime.
And speaking of capturing those memories, if you're looking for some visual inspiration and insider tips for your Mexico adventure, be sure to check out the Merida Magic YouTube channel.
Yes, Merida Magic is full of stunning videos showcasing the beauty culture and hidden gems of Mexico, the perfect way to fuel your wanderlust and start planning those unforgettable experiences.
Until next time, happy travels.
Adios, amigos. And don't forget to subscribe and like Merida Magic on YouTube